All right, good peoples. Happy Monday morning. We start a new week. Before I jump in to do the summary of NEOS and then all the individuals, their SPY, their QQQ, their Russell 2000, the IWMI, their Bitcoin BTCI, they've applied for and I think been accepted. And the launch, one of the papers that shows the activity has June 2nd. I don't know if it'll launch June 2nd. Usually they don't, but it's possible. So I'm going to tell you everything I know about it. And personally, I like it. And they give a lot of details. So I'm going to pass all that detail on to you guys. So, what is this? Well, NEOS is to launch a high yield monthly paying, don't yet know the week. Maybe it's going to match their other months, probably. So when I get into doing those, we'll know. Um, and there's the symbol. And this is some literature from their site. And there's quite a bit of data on their site. So let me go through what all it is. I looked at the filing, I looked at the strategy. Um, so, what Niels is going to do is utilize synthetic options. You guys know about that if you're a YieldMax owner and you watched any of my videos and other YouTubers go through that. So, they're doing it on gold ETPs, but the strategy is the same. It's not swaps, it's a form of options. So just know that, but they call them ETPs. So it's a gold fund, right? Here we go. Gold ETPs are funds that track the price of gold by directly holding actual gold bars as their underlying asset. Gold ETPs seek to provide performance of the price of gold bullion before the payment of fees and expenses. The price of a gold ETP fluctuates with the price of gold bullion, obviously. The shares of the gold ETPs are listed, traded, and cleared on regulated U.S. exchanges. They will also utilize the Flex options marketplace, similar to YieldMax and other ETFs. So, what is Flex? Flex is an institutional volume and level. I don't know if you have to have a Bloomberg terminal. I suspect, but I don't know that for a fact. Um, anyway, it's high volume, very customized options for a big fund, different than what you and I in retail would do. For instance, if I sell a put and that comes into play, or let's take the call, it's easier for you guys to understand, I think. Say I own a stock at $10 and I write a call to get called, okay, to on that $10 stock, and it's $12 at near the end of the option. So I made $2. So one of so that doesn't trigger getting a stock put to you. So that's the easier, and that's something that all of these firms, they want to settle in cash. They don't want to have to buy a $50 stock or $1,000 gold ETP if it's 1002 and they were betting that it was going to be 1000 and they got some premium. So it's a cash settlement in lieu of being put or called or anything related. Always a cash settlement. Whereas you and I, if we sell a put and we actually don't mind getting put to stock because the put was way down low below the current price and it just happened to go down there, plus we keep our premium, and we're like, okay, baby, put it to me. I want to buy this thing, right? So it's a nice way to buy cheap shares. And so in their world, in the flex world, you're not offered to buy it. You just settle in cash for the difference. All right. So targeting monthly distributions, NEOS Gold High Income ETF, IAUI, US symbol, pending the listing, right? So again, some of the paperwork said 6.2. It's really my experience. Every time I've seen that paperwork, nobody's ever launched on the day that sometimes is listed on the paperwork. All right. So what else I did? I just thought I would write this up about Neos, and then I'm going to go into their um, uh, 3 or 4 or 5 days ago they declared, and I had not done an update, and so I updated all my spreadsheets, and this was as good a time as any. So NEOS, currently ranked 44th largest ETF fund with total assets under management of 6.91 billion. They also have 12 ETFs listed as follows. Well, ironically, I got this off um, uh, a website, and there's only 11. So I'm assuming why they're calling them having 12 is because the 12th is IAUI when it's launched. I suspect it'll happen in June. It a remote possibility it's June 2nd, but let's see. All right. So the ones I report on are SpyYI, QQQI, because they're very common out there with Roundhill and now Yield Max, although they're both doing weeklies. These are monthlies. Monthlies have been, Defiance had monthlies, then moved those to weekly. There's quite a few firms that do these on a monthly basis. They also have an enhanced 1 to 3 month T-bill. I don't really report on that. I do report on BTCI, and I do report on the Russell 2000. So the first two here, the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq 100 and the Bitcoin and the Russell 2000. The rest are kind of, aggregate bonds, and you see much lower yields. Look at this, the Russell and BTCI and SPY and so forth. All right, so let me jump into those. So I'm going to start with the detail on each fund and then wrap it up with the summary of all of them. So this needed to be updated, which I did. So I'm reflecting the change, the current trading price, and the day before declaration. That's what I always work with, the day before declaration. So every one of these dates, I stopped doing some down here. I can easily put that back in and then said, what is the monthly change in the price on the day before they declare? And then what is yield on cost? So this is a more fixed, a more targeted. Okay, it's within 11, 12, 13%. And you see, since they have enough data, 3 month, 6 month, 12-month, both on the yield and on the NAV, um, as well as total return. So total return being these two fields added together. I'd say, oh, they had a 3 month yield of 388. Well, the fund itself went down 308. So that yields me a 0.80, right? A good way to look at data. So 12-month total return, 10%. So it's not going down too much, but it's going down a little bit, right? Your 12-month 1.96, but not bad. All right, so that's on the S&P 500. Let's look at the Qs. All right, very similar data, same thing going on. We have all our recent, right? It was 521 they declared and they paid um, on 523. So it's been 7, 8, 9 days, but it's just worth going over for somebody that hasn't kept up with this. And I thought some other people might be interested in the gold. There are a few gold funds. I've seen some with great appreciation, but I haven't seen anybody do what NEOS is going to be doing with the IAUI and paying monthly and targeting a high yield by doing these ETPs. They put on a synthetic long position, buy call, sell a put on the gold ETPs, and then they sell either spreads or naked calls on the ETPs to generate income. So I'm familiar. You guys are familiar if you're in any of the yield max and now really Roundhill, although Roundhill is using swaps and they're doing a different methodology. And yes, I know yield max is applied for the ability to do swap. Doesn't mean that they're going to be all swaps or only swaps going forward when they get that passed. All right. So on this one, the QQQ, we're seeing a little bit better yielding, and we're seeing what is the total return? Very similar total return. We just don't have any negative. We got a little bit of negative on the 6 and the 12, okay, on the QQQs. Let's look at the Russell. Now the Russell gets what? 3, 6, 9. Yeah, they just get to the 12, to the 1 year mark. Okay. And then BTCI doesn't. They get 8, and I used a 1.5 factor to show you what the 12-month period would in fact be. So let's look at the Russell. So we see same all these distribution dates. So what does that look like? Let me look on my other monitor. So those appear to be paydays on Fridays and declaration on Wednesday. We know a lot about that from a lot of other funds, right? You got Defiance in that, you got Roundhill in that, you got, or at least Roundhill on their um, index funds. They do a different day for their single stock payers. So here are the indexes. So we got a lot of people doing the indexes on Wednesday and paying on Friday. They may be in a different week in the month, but nonetheless. And in Roundhill's case, and in Yeomax with R Diddy and S Diddy and they are paying weekly. So there's Roundhill has really set the stage for that. All right. So let's look at the rest of the Russell. How are they stacking up? Eh, not as good. Lower 12-month return. Now this is even, projected out. Let me see if I did that correctly. Oh, sorry, that's on BTC. Not, I don't need to do it on this one. They have 3, 6, 9, 12. They're fine. Um, yeah, interesting. All right. I think let me do this one and then I'll do the summary and you can really. So bigger payments here. I didn't think this is too competitive. They look big, but not on a $60. They're 60, 52, 54, 66, 60. So they're fairly high priced on BTCI. For instance, Bitto, the 22, 23 range. It just declared, I own some Bitto, so I know. Um, 0.9978, right? Call it a dollar within, 2 cents of a dollar, a rounding error of a dollar. And it's a $22 stock. So you double it, that's $2. I don't see anything. I see $1.20. And that's only would be a $40, $44 stock. So, but your yields are still pretty good on here, and it doesn't appear that you have any real NAV erosion, right? They started lower, they've moved up into the 60s, back in the 50s, and back in the 60s. So since the start, they're up quite a bit from 48.1 when they launched here. Actually, this says 49.42, but this must have been the payment date. So I could go back in. It's not going to radically. It's going to change it a couple of percent. All right, guys, let's look at summary because I think this always helps. So I got here waiting for this guy, right? When you're going to launch. Now, they did say monthly. So I suspect in order to keep their housekeeping and their paperwork and their just, their company, it's probably Fireside or somebody that they pay to distribute their funds to the various brokerages where we buy the stock, the Robinhoods, the iBrokers, the Swabs, the Fidelities, you Canadians that have different ones. So that's Fireside type of company, whether it's Fireside or not, doing that. And it's easier if they come in and they're doing monthly just to do that. So I suspect we may well get that. Um, so that appears to be week 3, guys, from how I see it. All right. Um, this is what you care about. So you've got a total 12-month return of 11,1173. So obviously the Bitcoin is doing very well, and the Bitcoin has no NAV erosion, right? It has a 3-month NAV gain of 9%, 15%, and 39%. But what I did do on this one, since I only, for the 8 months, I've got 6 months. So I just took the 8-month value and multiplied it times 1.5. So it's projected out. In other words, it's annualized. 3-month total return, 1934 and 73. Still, I think you can yield more in some other BTC. I forget what Round Hill's YBTC. What I'll do is I'll drag some of that and I show IBIT and YBIT, and I'll make sure I put them in here so that you guys can see that. And inversely, I'll add BTCI now to some of the other ones where I do that when I report on YBIT and when I report on, I think it's YBTC, which is the Round Hill one. All right, guys, I'm not going to keep you. That is it for Neo's got a new high yield gold fund. Very interesting. Not gold miners, physical gold, right? They're trading the ETPs and they're doing it. They're owning it through a synthetic buy, call, sell, put. And then they're selling spreads and they're selling calls weekly to generate additional income. Okay, guys, this is Bruce with Targeted Wealth Creation, and that ends this. I'm out of here. It's not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. Have a great, great day ahead. Bye for now.